Today we will walk the stretch of the French Way between Puente la Reina and Estella. We will pass the bridge, the historic bridge, and we will definitely leave behind the Arga River, and we will enter through farmland. We will also see the first vineyards, a prelude to the great wine-growing areas that we will see in the coming days. Today the stage is not hard, we just have a couple of climbs, one before Mañeru and another in the town of Cirauqui itself, which will make us suffer a little. But the day is easy until we reach our destination, the historic city of Estella. Let's go. We leave Puente la Reina along the banks of the Arga River. It is the same river that we crossed a couple of days ago by the bridge in the Magdalena to enter Pamplona. As soon as we leave it, we will advance by a strong ascent. It is a kilometer with an average gradient of 10% that leads us to Mañeru. In this town we will be greeted by a 17th century cross on the right. We will cross the small urban nucleus contemplating some big houses and palaces of the same epoch. After leaving Mañeru and its cemetery behind, and if weather allows it, we will contemplate a typical stamp of the road. The view of the next town, Cirauqui, crowned by its church of San Roman from the 12th century. The slopes will be a bit steep. We will rest at the top and leave Cirauqui by an old road. This has a Roman origin, and its medieval cobblestones remind us that for more than a millennium, millions of pilgrims have passed through this same place on their way to Compostela. We advance, and shortly before reaching Lorca, we will cross the Salado River. Its name comes from the fact that this water is not drinkable. 9 centuries ago, the Codex Calixtinus strongly recommended that neither people nor animals should drink from it because it was deadly, and it tells an anecdote of the picaresque that existed in those years. Apparently, there were a couple of crooks in the area who waited for the unwary pilgrim and recommended that he give his horse to drink from this water. As soon as the animal dropped dead, the swindlers would take out their knives, slit the horse's throat, and keep its flesh to the horror of the pilgrim. Fortunately, such things no longer happen on the Camino de Santiago, or so I hope. We cross the small town of Lorca. As a monument, its church of San Salvador stands out, built in the 12th century, although very modified later. I was once told an anecdote related to some Koreans in this town. It turns out that these pilgrims had planned their pilgrimage to the millimeter and saw that they had to start in Lorca to reach Santiago de Compostela on time. So they came to Spain, and as they did not know any Spanish, they hired a transport in Madrid to take them to Lorca. And indeed, you can imagine that it took them to the other Lorca, the one in Murcia. Poor pilgrims. Our next destination, 5 kilometers later, is Villatuerta. We enter the center of the town crossing a small Romanesque bridge over the river Iranzu. In the center we will pass next to its church of the Assumption of Our Lady from the 12th century. Next to it, there is a sculpture commemorating Saint Beremundo, a person who worked with pilgrims back in the 12th century and who today is the patron saint of the Jacobean route as it passes through Navarre. Shortly after, we arrive in Estella and enter the area of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. We will cross the old street traveled by so many pilgrims and full of history and monuments. We are at the foot of the church of San Pedro de la Rua and next to the palace of the kings of Navarre. This small square of San Martin has a lot to offer. Estella is worth a stop to visit its monuments and also, for example, for its gastronomy, such as the gorin, the suckling pig baked in a wood-fired oven, or the chocolate rocks of the Puy of Bombones Torres. If you want to know more about Estella, access the video we have about this city from our app Buen Camino de Santiago or from the YouTube channel of the editorial Buen Camino. See you in the next video.